Take a slow breath and let your shoulders settle. Imagine the world exhaling with you, the crowded streets and quiet villages, the mountains and the harbors, the deserts and the rainforests, the places you know by heart and the places you only know by headlines. We are coming before the Maker of all things, the one who holds galaxies in his hands and yet counts every tear on every face. Tonight we bring him the ache of nations and the prayers of little children. We bring him headlines and hidden hurts, the loud sirens of cities and the quiet sobs behind bedroom doors. We bring him our anger, our fear, our guilt, our longing. We bring him ourselves. Holy God, you are nearer than our breath and greater than our understanding. You spoke light into darkness and still speak hope into chaos. You are the Father who never sleeps, the Son who laid down his life to make enemies into family, and the Spirit who moves like wind through locked rooms and locked hearts. We turn to you with all we are, praising, confessing, pleading, and we trust your heart more than we fear our history. Where our words falter, let your kindness carry them. We confess that our hands have not always been instruments of peace. We have clenched fists when you asked for open palms. We have chosen suspicion instead of trust, comfort instead of compassion, anger instead of understanding. In public debates and private thoughts, in boardrooms and kitchens, in parliaments and comment sections, we have sharpened our tongues like blades. Forgive us. Cleanse our speech. Cleanse our motives, cleanse our memories, wash the dust of violence from our feet, and set us again on the narrow road that leads to life. Look with pity and power on cities scarred by war. Hear the prayers rising from basements and border crossings, from bomb shelters and grief-torn funerals, from fields where harvest rots because men fight. See the mothers rocking empty air. See the fathers searching lists of names. See the children tracing maps with trembling fingers, asking how far away really is. Lord of hosts, fold your wings over the unarmed. Be bread in a famine of mercy. Be warmth in snow that falls on tents. Be a door where there has only been a wall. Turn the hearts of leaders who sit around polished tables but do not hear the cries under their feet. Saturate their minds with wisdom that outlasts elections and outshines the applause of their allies. Break the pride that takes offense more quickly than it takes counsel. Unclench the hands that grip revenge. Let every pen that signs orders of death grow heavy, and let the pens that sign ceasefires flow freely. Teach them to count costs not in dollars or territory, but in sons and daughters who never come home. Remember soldiers and conscripts, those who volunteered and those who were taken. Guard the ones who guard civilians. Soften the ones ordered to harden. Pull them back from lines they never wanted to cross, and give them a way out that saves their souls as well as their bodies. In the loneliest outposts, whisper their names and remind them they are more than uniforms and commands. They are sons and daughters made for life. Strengthen the weary work of peacemakers, the negotiators who sleep in airports, the mediators who absorb anger like sponges, the chaplains and aid workers who hold hands in the last minutes of light. Multiply the loaves of logistics, provide safe corridors, durable truces, and agreements that honor truth more than optics. Teach the world to cherish the quiet miracle of a day without sirens. Cradle refugees crossing rivers at night and deserts at noon. Place strong shoulders under their packs and stronger hope in their chests. Give favor at border posts, compassion to officials, good neighbors in new lands, and safe return when return is right. Restore documents, livelihoods, and names that were lost to chaos. Plant trees where camps once stood, and plant belonging in hearts that feel uprooted. Silence the drums that glorify violence. Expose the lies that make hatred feel reasonable. Unmask propaganda. Disarm rumor. Choke the wildfire of misinformation with the dew of truth. For journalists who risk their lives to tell the story, be a shield. For artists who imagine a better future, be inspiration. For teachers forming the next generation's conscience, be wisdom at their elbow and courage in their chest. Bless every house of worship that lifts prayer for peace. Cathedrals and storefront churches, synagogues and mosques, temples and living rooms. Where your name is honored, add fuel to the lamps of intercession. Where your character has been misrepresented to justify harm, correct us with your gentleness and your fire. Let leaders preach what they practice and practice what they preach. Knit together all who call on you in sincerity, so that the world may see what love looks like when it wears many languages. Walk the neighborhoods where old grudges have paved the streets, where each window remembers a stone. Heal the stories we pass down like heirlooms of pain. Give us the miracle of undeserved forgiveness and the practical wisdom of repair. Apologies that are specific, restitution that is real, justice that restores instead of repeats. Teach us that reconciliation is not forgetting. It is remembering with you in the room. Breathe on our homes, make dinner tables, schools of empathy, and bedtime a sanctuary of blessing. Put courage in parents to apologize, patience in siblings to try again, tenderness in partners to believe the best. Let the first and last words of the day be thank you and help. Turn the hearts of adults to the children and the hearts of children to the adults, that curse cycles may be broken and kindness become our family's native tongue. Hold especially the little ones who wake to nightmares they did not cause. Tell them stories of heroes who heal, not hurt, who build, not burn, who forgive, not forget to seek justice. Bless their backpacks with safety, their teachers with compassion, their friendships with loyalty. Guard their screens and guide their clicks. Put a peacemaker's seed deep within their play, so that sharing and fairness feel like fun and grow into calling. Lay your hand on minds bruised by anxiety and souls thinned by sorrow. For the one who cannot stop shaking, be steadiness. For the one who cannot stop crying, be a quiet shoulder and a long conversation. For the one who cannot feel at all, be warm light on cold stone. Untangle trauma memory by memory, in counseling rooms and morning walks, in worship songs and wordless sighs. Teach us that healing is holy and slow and certain in your presence. Walk hospital corridors where beeps keep time with prayer. Strengthen hands that mend the body and hearts that don't have time to break. Provide medicine where supply chains fail, clean water where taps ran brown, power where outage meant loss. Guard immune systems intense and intensive care. Bless research that prevents the next disaster. Make public health truly public and truly health. Teach us to steward the earth we share. We have extracted without blessing and burned without foresight. Forgive us. Let the forests clap again because we protected them. Let coral reefs sing because we listened to the oceans. Let cities breathe because we changed our ways. Inspire inventions that heal more than they harm. Economies that account for the cries of the land as well as the cries of the poor. Make us gardeners where we were exploiters, keepers where we were consumers, friends where we were strangers to creation. Visit marketplaces and ministries, courthouses and campuses, farms and factories. Clean greed from our ledgers and cynicism from our policies. Teach us that profit without neighbor love is poverty in disguise. Break the back of corruption that steals bread from children and robs dignity from workers. Raise leaders who love the truth more than the deal, and teams that hold each other to a standard of honor. For those plotting violence at this very hour, arrest their imaginations with a better vision. Let a hand set to pull a trigger suddenly tremble and be still. Let planners of terror lose their appetite for death and find themselves hungry for mercy. Send dreams in the night that disarm and awaken. Send unexpected friendships that reroute destinies. Where evil has tangled itself like roots under a city, expose it to the sun. And where wounds have become identities, reveal the name you wrote before the first injury. For nations smoldering with long memories of wrong, bring archivists of truth and architects of peace to the same table. For borders drawn in arrogance and maintained in blood, give humility to redraw and courage to guard human dignity over national pride. For sanctions, strategies, and summits, send prophets who love their enemies enough to tell them the truth and love their neighbors enough to remain at the table. Teach us practical peace. Put it in our calendars, a phone call to the estranged, a gift card to the single parent, a meal for the neighbor who keeps to himself, a Saturday planting trees, a monthly gift to relief work, a weekly fast to remember the hungry, a habit of voting, writing, volunteering, and learning. Peace must be prayed and built. Put steel in our compassion and skill in our kindness so that our love lasts past the headline cycle. Anoint your church in every place to be salt that slows decay and light that reveals another way. Free us from power games and platform chasing. Make our sanctuaries triage tents for the wounded and training camps for peacemakers. Let our sermons sound like good news to the poor, and our budgets look like it. May baptismal waters wash away enmity as surely as they wash away shame. May communion tables make former enemies pass bread and say each other's names with blessing. Let the Beatitudes become our constitution, that the poor in spirit are the true inheritors, that those who mourn will be comforted, that the meek will do more than survive, they will steward the earth, that those who hunger and thirst for righteousness will be filled, that the merciful will obtain mercy, that the pure in heart will see God, that peacemakers will be called your children, that those persecuted for doing right will dance even in chains, because heaven has drawn near. We ask for a miracle at the scale of our mess. We ask that swords become plowshares and tanks become tractors. We ask that minefields become orchards and checkpoints become markets. We ask that walls become long tables and watchtowers become libraries. We ask that former fighters build schools together and former enemies become godparents to each other's children. We ask this not because we are naive, but because we have seen graves become gardens and a cross become an empty tomb. Bring resurrection to places declared permanently broken. Start with us. Raise what cynicism has buried. Call out of us the courage we admired in others but never thought was ours. Give us small assignments and big shoulders. Set our faces like flint toward the work of peace and keep our hearts like flesh in the presence of suffering. Let us be quick to listen, slow to speak, slower still to anger. Let our reputations be they repair, not they react. When fear tells us to lock our doors and shrink our circle, remind us that love built our homes in the first place. When fatigue says, it will always be this way, remind us that you split seas and move mountains and more often move hearts. When despair says, what's the point? Remind us that every cup of cold water given in your name carries the weight of eternity. For the lonely widower and the lonely president, for the nurse at midnight and the farmer before dawn, for the child selling flowers at a stoplight and the executive on a flight reviewing numbers while her soul aches. Be company, be counsel, be comfort. Let them stumble into grace today, trip over kindness they did not expect, and end the day more whole than they began. Bless the scientists working for cures, and the diplomats drafting clauses, and the pastors preparing eulogies. Bless the translators who make enemies intelligible to one another. Bless the engineers of bridges and the menders of nets. Bless the hands that sew flags onto backpacks, and the hands that sew wounds in operating rooms. Bless the anonymous middle who quietly refuses to hate. We give you our future, near and far. We imagine a classroom where former adversaries learn each other's lullabies, We imagine a market where the only competition is kindness. We imagine a memorial that is also a garden, where names are read and fruits are shared, and somehow both truth and tenderness win. We imagine a generation that studies war in history books with disbelief, because the present tense is so full of peace. Make this more than imagination. Make it testimony. Until that day, keep our lamps lit. Keep our prayers stubborn. Keep our love creative. Keep our hope defiant. When we are tempted to curse, teach us to bless. When we are tempted to strike, teach us to serve. When we are tempted to give up, teach us to look again at the empty tomb and start again from there. God of Abraham and Hagar, of Ruth and Boaz, of Mary and Joseph, of the persecutor turned apostle, receive this prayer and reshape the world by reshaping us. Let wars cease to the ends of the earth, and let worship rise instead. Let the mountains of pride be leveled and the valleys of despair lifted. Let justice roll down like rivers, and righteousness like a stream that never runs dry. Let the knowledge of your glory cover the earth as waters cover the sea. We end as we began, with breath. As we breathe out, we release anger, suspicion, and the stories that shrink our neighbors. As we breathe in, we receive your spirit, peaceful, powerful, and present. Do in us what we cannot do alone. Do through us what we cannot imagine. Do above us what we cannot command, and do it all in the strong and gentle name of Jesus, the Prince of Peace, in whom swords become pruning hooks and graves become gardens. Amen. If this prayer stirred your heart, help us sow peace far and wide. Subscribe to Universal Texts of Faith so these words of hope keep meeting you each week. Share this prayer with a friend, a family group, or a community that needs courage today. And in the comments, write the name of a country, a city, or a person you want us to pray for. We will join you by name. You are not alone, and together in prayer, we build the world we long to see.